Hi everyone, my name is Justin. I'm with MSCR's Outdoor Programs, here for the Virtual Outdoor Club to give you a little fort building demonstration, something that you can do in this time when you have a little bit more time on your hands. Something fun. I know as a kid, I always loved building forts, whether it was inside with sheets, outside with sticks, out in the woods. And as an adult, I still love to build forts, only now I use tarps. So today what I'm going to demonstrate is how you at home, or even out at your local park or in the woods, can build yourself a little shelter, a little tarp shelter, a little fort, if you will. You can start off with some really basic stuff, just some tent stakes. You can get yourself some rope from the local hardware store, or use some stuff you have at home, 1/4 inch, just fine. And just your garden variety tarp that you can get at a local outdoor store or a hardware store with grommets on the end. I would recommend that you go with at least a 10 by 10 or 10 by 8, and you can go up from there. Anything less than a 10 by 8, and it's not going to be a very effective tarp shelter, aka fort. All right, those are the items that you could use. I've got it set up over here so I can show you just the basics of how to get a ridgeline tarp set up, and from there you can make a really flexible and dynamic tarping system, aka fort, that you can do in your backyard. All right. As you can probably see, I've got one side already tied off. I've got 2 trees here. They're about 15 feet apart. You're going to look for anywhere from 15 to 20 feet or so. If you have trees that are really far apart, you could use extra line to spread it out. But generally, you're going to look for that 15 to 20 foot spread between the trees. All right, she's going to follow me in. Now here we have a tarp just like that blue one I showed you. And what I have is 2 guy lines tied off to the middle of the tarp. You can probably see here that this is just the tarp folded over. If your tarp doesn't have a grommet on the middle, it probably has a grommet somewhere up the line here. And that's okay too. It just means that you're gonna have one side that's a little shorter than the other. And so that's just fine, you'll be able to work it out. Now I've got one side tied off about head height. You can go a little higher, I wouldn't go too much lower. From the other side, I've got my other line here. I'm going to show you 2 knots on how to secure this line and get it so you can make it nice and tight without putting a lot of pressure on yourself. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my next tree and wrap it around, again about head height, and I'm going to make sure that I have at least 2 to 3 feet of tail left over here. I'm going to mark about where I want my first knot here, and I'm going to let go of that rope. So here, I just want to put a loop in the rope, and I'll show you why later. What I'm going to do, I'm going to make a loop like this to make a knot. All I'm going to do is go around the back, right? I've made a loop right here with my fingers. I'm going to pull that loop through the other loop. Just kind of a basic overhand knot, but you're just using a loop already in the rope. Now that you get that loop in the rope, I'm going to go back around that tree with the rope. And I'm going to demonstrate you one of my favorite knots, the knot that I use the most in everyday life if I need to secure something with a rope. It's called the trucker's hitch. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that tail end of the rope, I'm going to put it through that loop. And what that does, it makes a really easy way to tighten up this tarp. You can just pull as tight as you need. It doesn't need to be too crazy tight, just enough so it's nice and taut all the way across. The final knot I want to show you is what is called the trucker's hitch. Again, my favorite knot. Right now, I'm going to pinch this part right here where I pulled it through. I'm going to make a little loop right here, right? I'm going to take that loop. I'm going to pass it up this way, right? I've got this loop up here. I still have my tail end of my rope down here. I'm just going to take my 2 fingers through that loop, grab that tail end, make another loop, and pull it through just like that. Okay? That is strong enough to hold it. It'll loosen up a little bit, but if it does get loose, all you do is pull that tail and it releases, and I can retie it just like this. Again, I'm going to grab a loop, twist it, I'm going to stick my fingers through that loop, grab the tail, and pull on through. If you want to be a little bit more secure, you can just do an overhand knot to tie it off. Okay, I'm going to tie down the rest of the points and explain it after I'm done, and we'll start right now. Okay, there's your basic fort shelter. You can crawl underneath this thing, hang out all day. Really fun. I use those trucker hitches all the way around So that way I can adjust in case it's not quite tight enough. Last thing I'm going to show you today is how to raise it up a little bit. So here we go. What I'm going to do is I'm going to release these. Well, first I'm going to pick my object. You could just use a stick or a couple of sticks. You could use some paddles. Today I'm going to use some cross-country ski poles. All right, and I'm going to have my videographer here follow me around to the other side. So I'm going to go on the opposite side of the wind. Right now the wind is coming from that way, so that's why I moved over here. So I can get under here, I can have that backside as my backstop against the wind. And I'm going to open this side up a little bit because maybe I could have a fire right here, but I just need to have this up a little higher so I can see. What I'm going to use, I'm going to loosen up these. And remember, what's really nice about this trucker's hitch is all I have to do is this, and it loosens up. Once I loosen this up, take whatever it is, my stick or my ski pole here. So what I'm doing is I'm readjusting right now to make that middle part nice and tight. Using my trucker's hitch yet again. And now, again, I can just keep readjusting it. It's a little loose right there. I might take this stake out, move it over to this side, a little bit more on the diagonal. It just kind of started to rain. We got a nice little shelter here. This is my little park fort. Enjoy.